Hey guys, here we go into like another kind of special, video that I'm gonna do. It's kind of a breakdown of Guillermo Rigondeaux's media day workout, and I'm not sure, is this his final media day? I don't know, like if they're gonna do another one. Is it tomorrow? Would it be tomorrow, Thursday? Or if this is going to be his final one, or like his real media day work day. But the interesting thing is I couldn't actually find Lomachenko's media day workout for today, right? I think there was one that came out last week, but what I kind of want to do is I want to go over it and kind of talk about some of the things that he's practicing while he's doing this. Even though like media day is supposed to be a light workout, right? You still want to be kind of reinforcing and making sure that he's kind of drilling what he wants to do in the fight. And that's when you talk about preparation for a fight. A lot of times people will think like, oh, you just go in there, you punch the heavy bag, you train, you jump rope, and you hit the mitts, whatever, and then you go fight somebody. But that's not what you do at all. And anyone who's going to the gym right now, if you're just an amateur, and you don't have like a specific opponent that you're training for or specific strategies that you're trying to work on, you're just going to go into the ring, and you're just going to, you're going to go to the gym, you're going to hit the bag for like 6 rounds, right? Or the heavy bag for 6 rounds. Maybe you'll hit the other bags, the peanut bag, or the, they call them the double-ended bags. You'll hit those bags for 1 or 2 rounds, and then you'll do a round on the speed bag, and then you'll call it a workout, right? Maybe you do some push-ups and some sit-ups or whatever. But when you have like a fighter that you're tailoring your craft to, like a professional fighter, you want to make sure that everything that you're doing is tailored to them, right? The tactics that you use in the ring are going to be what you want to train specifically. So you're going to practice countering certain punches. You're going to practice moving in certain ways. And I kind of want to talk about some things that I see in Rigondeaux's little fight camp that might allude to some stuff that he's going to be doing in the course of the Lomachenko fight. Some interesting stuff, too. So let's go ahead and see. So right away, going to the body, right? Not really anything like whatever. He's just fucking around right now. But this is a really interesting technique, right? Like the way that he's working with his coach right now, like it might kind of look like, oh, what is he doing? Oh, what is that? But it's really interesting, right? So like things like this, obviously you can see he's rolling the shots, right? But being able to see where the openings are when you roll on an opponent, right? Because when you hit the mitts with your coach, they're not usually throwing punches back at you, right? They're just like, they'll put the glove up and be like, oh, that's an overhand right, or this is a left hook, or this, But if you have someone who's holding the mitts like this, or simulating punches, you can get a better idea of where the actual openings are, and you'll see that like right here, when he starts actually getting into it, right? Now this is really interesting right here. So he waves this hand over Rigondeaux like he's rolling a hook, and then Rigondeaux comes over the top with the left hand. Now this might be a really interesting tactic for him to use against Lomachenko, and that might be something he's looking to do during the course of the fight, is to counter the Lomachenko's right hook with his straight left hand. We'll have to see. I don't know that Lomachenko uses his right hook too much, right? Usually he takes like, he takes angles, right? And he'll try to come in, he'll try to smother your offense and then take angles and land his own shots, right? So throwing punches when he's right in front of his opponent is not something he's usually doing. But again, there he does it again, right? But the cool thing about this style of technique of training for like punch mitts, or like unorthodox training, is that you get to actually see the openings, right? You're not just like focused on the pad, right? You can see the hand wave around you as you go, right? Roll, right? And then where you're punching to, right? So it's gonna make it a lot easier for him when he's in a fight to pick little holes and find little spots, And again, although his opponent right here is not in southpaw position, right? This is the same style, the same thought process, right? Rolling a shot and throwing a punch at the same time, right? And it's really interesting too, because combining these two styles to land offense while you're defending yourself, because the motion is usually roughly the same, is very high level stuff. Again, rolling. And now notice though, like, this is not exactly stuff that you can kind of pull apart. What is he going to do against Lomachenko? Because his opponent, his coach right now, is in an orthodox stance, right? So that stuff is not going to be useful for him against Lomachenko, those specific combos. But this is interesting right here. So now his coach is in southpaw stance as well. And if you notice, when he starts feinting forward, right, Rigondeaux looks to control the distance with his jab, right? And now he controls the distance with his left hand, and his coach takes a step back, right? But it's when his coach, boom, right there, when his coach starts stepping forward, right? So it's showing him that he's learning to control the distance with different punches, which is great, right? It's fantastic. You don't want to be like Shabransky, where you can only control it with your jab, right? But it is going to be important for Rigondeaux to use the probing elements of the control, right, to bait the counters, because we've seen that Lomachenko can move forward through this type of control, right, by slipping shots and baiting them and figuring out what he's going to do, right? Again, right? And now that's good too, right? Stepping forward, and he gives him a 1-2, right? Finishing up with the jab and then moving off the line, right? So boom, boom, and then moves off the line. That's brilliant. You know, even if he's not throwing these as real punches, right? If he feints these and he can gauge a reaction from Lomachenko and then move off the line, maybe he can walk him into something later. And we'll talk a little bit about that later too. But again, controlling the distance with punches, and again, that's something that's very scary, right? Because it is also very difficult to like train like probes and feints, you know, not necessarily feints, right? But probing, you know, is very strange, right? But this is really interesting right here, showing him where the openings are, right? When his opponent puts his hand out, right? And granted, he's not in position right there, like he's not in a left-handed stance, but he is here, right? And you can see Rigondeaux going to the body. You know, it's not super clear, but going to the body, it looks like, with his left hand when his coach puts his jab hand out there, right? So that might be something really interesting for us to look for during the course of their fight. Now, again, he's in southpaw position, shooting the left hand over the jab, right? So he's practicing countering the jab of Lomachenko with this style of training, right? So that'll be some interesting stuff for him for us to be looking for during the Lomachenko fight. Now, again, using this strategy, the same kind of technique, right? His coach gets into southpaw, shoots the jab, and he slips it and shoots a jab to the body, right? So he's showing that he's looking to counter to the body, and then right there, boom, go over the top with the shot. You know, really interesting. Jab to the body, overhand left. Boom. And I'm not sure what the uppercuts are for, right? But now this is really interesting. He does something later that's very similar to this when he has the punch mitts, and then he throws like this crazy combo. But I don't think it's hook, right? I think it's supposed to be hook straight, right? Because the right hook would come over, right? So the right hook comes, and then it would be a straight left, right? And I think that's why it's not as an exaggerated rolling technique. He just moves his head a little bit off the line and then throws his combination. So that would be something that's really interesting for him to move into. Oh, some people are kind of coming in here real quick. Let me just move because I've been having a lot of trouble chopping this stuff up. Hold on a second, guys.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry about that. I know, super professional. Anyway, good movement, and again, rolling, and then that time he actually added a left hand to it too. You know, now this is really interesting stuff, and as soon as I set my computer down again, we'll talk about and break this stuff down and what he's doing and why. But the movement is really interesting. Here we go. So his coach starts coming in and getting close on him, right? Because we know that Lomachenko likes to fight on the inside, right? That's where he's best able to smother you and control you and land his best punches, right? So he starts. You can't really see it, but his coach kind of rolls his arm this way and tells Lomachenko to pivot to the outside while he's in front of him, right? And obviously you take a shot out to the outside, and you can land a body shot, right? So that'll be really interesting to see how he's able to do this. And it's more interesting because Lomachenko is so active with his left hand. I wonder how he'll be able to get to the outside of it. So I'll be really interested to see him do that. But then taking a shot to the outside this way, the other outside, right? Boom. If his opponent shoots like a straight left hand, right, from this position while they're like kind of in front of each other, he could slip and take an angle, boom, and then go to the body right there. It doesn't look super clear, right? Because his coach is not exactly in the position, right, where he's throwing a shot, right? But it looks like that's what he's doing. Again, taking another angle, throwing another shot. And I think that's what it winds up, what he's hoping to teach him in these scenes, because he's fighting orthodox, is to shoot in when he slips a shot. Don't just slip it, but slip it and take an angle at the same time, or like take a positional advantage so you can land body shots. Again, right? So this would be like if his opponent threw a jab at him right here, right? He could slip to the outside, right? And then throw a left hand to the body, and then a right hook. Same thing. Well, not the same thing, the exact opposite, rather. If he were to throw a straight left, right? Boom, he could shift out, right? And then, and I don't exactly know how this one's going to work out, right? And I'm not sure, like, how that would look in a fight, like exactly what he's trying to show him. But showing him that when those arms are extended, because again, like his coach right here is in an orthodox stance, right? So it's really interesting to show him, giving tape on, or not tape, but giving him looks that are orthodox and southpaw when Lomachenko doesn't really shift, right? But getting him used to the movement, right? Maybe that's what it is. It's training his ability to pivot and turn and stuff, which is always like really good for you. But anyway, I think they'll get to the punch mitts now. Let's see. Oh, some jump roping. Hey guys, that's how you jump rope. Looks pretty good. Great jump rope, bro. Good job. Whoops. Okay. And now his coach, I think, stays in left-handed stance the whole time. So we'll kind of start breaking this stuff down. So catching a right hook and then catching a left hand. Now this is going to be really tricky if this is his strategy for beating Lomachenko, is catching punches, right? Because we know how well Lomachenko feints and probes. Boom. So interesting. So it looks like his idea to get away from the straight left is it maybe catch and move off the line and throw his own counter left hand? Not bad. I like this right here. Catching your opponent's hook and countering immediately, but also moving off the line, right? Notice why he's training, right? And this is very difficult to do because a lot of times you don't have coaches that want to do it with you either. They don't want to move as much. They just want to stand you in front of there and move their hands, blah, 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 right? But look at how mobile he is during the course of his training, right? Moving from boom. I like this catching, right? He catches, brings his shoulder up when he does it, and is able to move off the line. I'm not a super big fan of catching right there, but we'll see how it works for him in the Lomachenko fight. Now, this is interesting right here. So look at that jab, right? What is he jabbing at, right? What is he jabbing at? Nothing. He's not jabbing at anything. He's bringing his hand up, right? And notice he doesn't commit to the jab, right? He's in the air when he throws the jab because all this jab is a feint, so he can get Lomachenko to bring his guard up and then throw a left hand to the body. I talked about this in my last video, that the left hand is on the same side as your opponent's liver, right? So landing a good left hand right there, you can just end the fight, I had an argument with one of my viewers one time about how your abdomen is supposed to protect your abs, or it's supposed to protect your organs, right? And it kind of does, right? It doesn't in the way that it's like a safe, right, where it's always protected, right? But it protects them from being poked and prodded, right? But if you get punched, if someone hits you with, 200 pounds of force, yeah, they're going to be able to get through that meat, right, very easily. And Rigondeaux definitely has the power to stop Lomachenko if he hits him in the body and gets him with a good liver shot. Absolutely. But that's going to be a really interesting scene to see if this is one of his strategies, right? And it's very important, again, boom, right there, the same exact technique, right? High And then while he's in there, look at the rotation on his hips, you guys. And he's not even throwing a hard punch, right? Look at how far they turn. Boom. Beautiful punch technique. Boom. I'm not sure what he does first. Is he going to the body now? But I like how he moves off the line after he shoots that shot, right? Which is very good, which is going to be something he needs to do every single time he attacks Lomachenko, is move off the line, because we have seen that Lomachenko is like a quote-unquote aggressive counterpuncher. I don't really like that term necessarily, but I think that it's very easy to understand regardless. Damn, look at the air on that boy. Man, look at that shit. Ooh. As high as his shoulders, man. Look at that. Boy, got some hops, man. Let's see. I think they start doing the punch mitts now. Dude, isn't he fucking shredded like fuck? God damn. Oh, he hits the bag. Now, I'm not a big fan of the way most people hit the bag, you know. I like that he's stepping around and stuff. Like, that's good. But you never want to stand in front of the bag and just be punching it. You know, you always want to be working on something. Or punching it like you're fighting somebody. You know, controlling the bag. And he does do some of that a little bit. Which is why I haven't skipped forward yet. But right there. So he hits it. Boom. Boom. And then he controls it with his forearm. Notice that? That's how you fight on the inside, right? When you're fighting your opponent, right? See, notice how one of his gloves is across his chin and the other one is kind of across his abdomen, right? Boom. When he gets really close. And that's the kind of stuff, that's how you want to be hitting the bag, right? Boom, 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 right? And then you roll and control the bag. You know, you can roll around it. And that's kind of the stuff that you want to be doing. I think most of the time he's just hitting it now. It's also tough to tell because this is media day, right? Where they're just showing off power and speed, so who knows exactly what they're doing. But let's get to some of the mitt stuff and see if we can see some interesting stuff. Again, I don't know why he switches southpaw, right? But this is really interesting, this style, right? Seeing where the openings are, right? And it'll be a really interesting style to see him watch, or to watch him be going to the body as much, if he's slipping and countering and throwing punches to the body. So this is the kind of stuff I want to be paying attention to when he's in southpaw position, his coach. So 1-2-1, or yeah, 1-2-1. I think it has a 2-1-2 here for some reason. You know, mixing it up on your opponent obviously is fine. Boom, I like that. So boom, boom, and then hopping back, taking a step back. Double hook, sure. Not bad. Boom, boom, boom. And then getting his guard back and then moving off the line. Now, it's really important for any of you like amateur fighters out there. If your coach is just standing there in front of you, holding the mitts for you while you throw combinations, that's how you're going to fight. You know, the reason that Rigondeaux fights the way that he does is not because he's a good fighter, right? Which is true. He is a good fighter. That came out completely wrong. But the reason that he fights, he is a good fighter, is because he trains well. Right? You have to. You're never going to do anything in the ring that you didn't train to do outside of it, right? So notice when he does throw combinations, how he always moves off the line. Boom, rolling shot. I think this is the same thing that we showed earlier. Yeah, where he rolls the hook and then throws a left hand. Catch, boom. Now this is really interesting, right? So catch one. Roll the next one, and then throw a left hand, right hook. This is really interesting because Lomachenko did a lot of probing in that regard against Gary Russell, right? I specifically remember a scene, and I probably should have cut it before I started making this video, where he sticks his left hand out there like a jab, then he ducks down, and he changes levels, right? He comes down, and then he winds his he winds his right hand out around Gary Russell, right? So he jabs, winds his right hand around to make it look like a hook is coming to try and get Gary Russell out of position. And it looks like Rigondeaux was preparing for that, preparing for the multiple right hands from his opponent, right, from Lomachenko and countering those, right? So being prepared for the feints and the probes, right, and then having counters to them. And although I don't think you can exactly counter them, right, but if he does start witnessing that he's trying to catch them, he might be able to like reverse engineer a counter to Lomachenko, right? So if he's countering it, right, he might be able to get him to throw a straight left hand instead, and then he might slip it and then catch him with his own left hand. If that make any sense, right? I don't know. Boom. But again, doing the same exact combination, right? So it might be probe, feint, right? And then he throws his own counters, right? But being prepared for multiple feints and multiple counters from Lomachenko. Again, and we'll have to see exactly where he goes from there, right, during the course of the fight. But it is really interesting that he's training this, right? Catching his opponent's left hand, going back to catching the right hand again. Interesting. I don't know if Lomachenko is as active with his left hand that he's going to be needing counters for them, but it is interesting that he's training them. I think there's more on the mitts than that. Now he's throwing some real punches. Okay. Now, beautiful, right? Jab, jab. His opponent starts coming to come into him. And what does he do? Immediately controls him, right? If you don't train control, you're never going to use it. Some good counters in there. Beautiful. Now, this is boxing, you guys. Boom. He misses a shot, and what does he do? Defensive responsibility in the gym, rolls, ducks a shot, and then pivots out, right? And then his coach shows him, oh, there might be a straight left hand right there, right? And notice how he sees it, right? And he's like, oh, okay, got you, right? And then the next time they do this exercise, he'll throw the punch for real. Maybe his leg cramped too. I don't know. That was weird. A lot of catching. I really hope that's not his strategy for fighting Lomachenko, is catching punches. Boom. But right there, beautiful. Boom, boom. And then immediately goes to body up with his opponent so he can push him off and take another angle off of him. And if you don't train this stuff, you'll never do it in the ring. So it's really good that he has his coach showing him and teaching him this stuff and making him drill it, making him do it while they're holding the mitts for him. I don't know what his coach is saying right now. Boom. So what is that? Right hook, left hand, roll, combo. So maybe that's what that preparation is for a 1-2-3. Like a probe, like a jab. So this does look like a 1-2-3, and then counter and combination. Some of it looks very strange. Is this him mocking Lomachenko? Like, I'm not sure. But boom. So remember that exact same situation, right? Body up with him, take an angle, and then throw the left hand. That's exactly the way that you learn about that stuff in a fight, right? Is, oh, you saw the opening, and then the next time you go for it, right? But the combination is really interesting itself. Catch, roll, and then throw, 3 punches or 4 punches. He gets a little tripped up. I think their feet kind of tangle right there. And, I think it's kind of devolved from actual strategy just to showing off into, like, media stuff, right? Which is fine. Like, no big deal. I think there's a little more of that. Okay. I think that maybe that's just their warm-up too, that specific warm-up right there. Let's see. I don't know what that is. Is that them making fun of Lomachenko, like, oh, if he calls you into the corner, you better go. Show him you're a man. I don't know. Or is that them trying to say, hey, look, Lomachenko or Rigondeaux can go forward too? I don't know. Not really anything to really analyze from it, though. It doesn't look like he's specifically working on anything. Maybe these first few punches are feints. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. So feint inside, and then boom, boom. And then all those to set up the left hand. That seems likely. Anyway, some interesting stuff in the video for sure. Looking like going to the body might actually be a large part of their game plan. Flashing the jab up and then shooting the left hand to the body. Obviously, like pivoting and turning and moving off the line has always been something that Rigondeaux has been really good at and looking to do a lot of. So that'll be really interesting for him. But not too much more. But a great training video for anyone who's looking to learn boxing, right? If you don't do it in the gym, right, you're never going to do it in a fight. Ooh, I like that. Boom, rolling the counter, and then moving on it. Like not only does he move off the line, boom, he takes another angle after. And that'll be stuff that's really good for him. I wish there was going to be Lomachenko Media Day workout, one where he hits the mitts and he's not just shadow boxing. I have one where he's shadow boxing, but obviously, like, you don't really get to see what he's working on, what kinds of things he's doing, where he's working with his coach, right? But some interesting stuff in here. Yeah, if you guys are interested in more videos, like talking about it, like predictions and stuff, like what people are working on or why they're working on it, let me know and I can put out more videos like this. If Lomachenko has one, I'll definitely put it out. But watching him hit the mitts, might be one of his like trade secrets. I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to find a video and talk about it, even if it's not fighting Rigondeaux. Anyway, thanks guys.